Tell us a little about your offseason. Where and with whom did you train over the summer?
Yeah, so I had to do an internship as part of my degree last year. So I was back home for a few weeks, got to spend some time with family, and then was in Austin for the majority of the time, training with my cousin out there. So got some good work in the off season there.
All right, you hear a lot of your teammates talking about lifting and running. What are the goals in a punter's off-season training?
Yeah, I mean, I lift. I love to lift. It's kind of a fun enjoyment I do. So not a whole lot of running. If I don't have to do it, I won't do it as much as probably the other guys. But no, I stay on top of the lifting and try and punt as much as possible. Like over the summer, that's kind of the main thing you want to do, because it helps build up the camp. You punt a lot of days, so the more you can condition yourself to punt, the better off you are. So you stick to kind of punting a lot in the off season over the summer.
How was the first year here for you and just kind of making that adjustment?
Yeah, it was good. I loved it. It was such a different kind of transition. The coaching staffs are very great. It's always nice when they've recruited you, they look after you and you feel wanted, which is always nice, especially the way the transfer portal is today. It's kind of nice to fit in, but it was good. Loved it. Came in for camp this time last year and took a few weeks to get used to it. Just obviously not going through a spring ball, so it was nice getting used to that kind of catching snaps, having a rush, and then starting off the season pretty well. And yeah, I was happy with my last year.
How nice is that to then have the consistency going into this year of kind of knowing how things are going to run, obviously then being here in the spring and all that?
Yeah, it's great. You get comfortable with it. You get a feel for the stadium, different teams you play, the speed of the game is a little different. So it's kind of nice. It's nice not to have that off year. You still got to play last season, and now coming into this year, I feel great.
You mentioned getting a feel for the stadium. When you go on the road and walk through a new stadium, what are the things you look for to get ready for each game?
Yeah, well, obviously there's the wind. That's the main factor that kickers and punters love to look up pre-game. They go on the app and look that up. So the wind's a big thing. But then obviously like grass versus turf field makes a little difference just with footing and if it's sloped a little bit. But it's more a mental thing. If you try and psych yourself out, you're playing at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers home stadium and you're like, oh wow, there's a huge crowd or big seats, big stadium, you kind of can psych yourself out a bit. But if you try and just stay calm and be like, it's the same thing that you do out on the practice field at the home stadium, at NFL stadium, it's all the same. So it's just the mind game of it all.
Australia puts out a lot of specialists. What is it like coming up through that and, that environment to produce so many of you guys?
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's cool to see Pro Kick grow. When I first went there, it was kind of on the rise. I was in that weird stage where it was still a small program, but also kind of getting big. And I'm happy for Chappie and Johnny. They're doing such a great job out there. There's guys all over the country that are playing well, and now in the NFL, slowly creeping in. There's a couple guys out there, so it's awesome.
What's it been like with Coach Cooper taking over special teams coordinator and then bringing in Coach Clausen to work with you guys?
Yeah, Coach Coop's great. He's probably the youngest coach I've had, which is cool, and he's really relaxed. He gets along with me really well. We work together quite well as well. He'll kind of base his scheme or calls throughout the game based on what I want, so we can work cohesively to kind of do the best thing for us. And then Coach Clausen's a great addition as well. I just met him a couple of weeks ago when he was a kicker in college, so we can kind of relate in that form, and he really tries to get to understand you. He's not just like, do this, do that, because that's what I did. He's really open-minded, and it's great. You can work along with especially the younger guys coming in for their first time in college. So
when you break down punting and you think about distance or hang time or directional punting, do you consider one of those more important than the others, and which is the most difficult to develop or improve?
Yeah, I mean, they're both just as important as each other. There's sayings where it's like, if you hit a 4.2, it's got to be 42, but obviously you can't control those minute details, so the whole thing is you just want to hit your best ball. If your best ball is good hang and good distance, you can match that, but they're both just as equally as important.
Do you notice anything different with some of the depth that they brought in terms of coverage units and things like that for you? Because guys are running down.
To be honest, our gunners are great. I've always been blessed with great gunners. Last year they did a great job. I know we have some great receivers that are really fast and can get down there on punt and kickoff. But to be 100% honest, once it's off, and everyone's out and about, so I don't pay a whole lot of attention. But I know they're great. They've done a great job and continue to do so.
I think only 8 punts that you put out were returned. How much of an emphasis is it on forcing fair catches, getting it out of bounds at a certain point? And do you kind of have a number or percentage in mind, like a goal for the season of I only want this percent of my kicks returned?
Of course, you want 0, obviously, because then it's great for me personally as a statistics standpoint, but it's great for the team. If I have no returns, then the team has no returns, so it's a win-win. But yeah, if you roll out and you can hold the ball a bit longer, it always helps coverage get downfield. But there's no exact number. The more you add to your game, overcomplicate it, the more you get inside your head, and then you'll get down on yourself during the season if you're not matching that number. So it's kind of just go with how you feel and try and punt each ball as good as you can each rep.
Do you have the freedom to take off and run, or would that call have to come from the sideline? And have you ever lobbied the coaches to let you run?
I've done a fake in my past, earlier on in my career, but no, I don't know. You're taking a big risk if you're taking off and it's not being called, but it's coming from the sideline if you're taking off or not.
Holding for Colin, how much does it help all being back together, the tripod of the kicking game, I guess?
Yeah, as a holder, I have the easiest job out there, so I'm sure it's great for Colin. He's I'm sure as a kicker you want consistency, and if a hold changes every time you're out there, it would mess around with you a little bit. But no, we work along great. Will does a great job at snapping, and we get a few days and we're back like that, so it's nice. And he's been hitting the ball well, snapping well, so yeah, it's looking smooth.
How much with Will then also snapping to you on punts, how much does that help that he kind of gets in a rhythm of he knows where you want the ball, you're able to kind of work on placement, so there's the little fewest steps for you to get the ball off? Yeah,
it's great. He works really well on the rollouts as well. I know he changes it a little bit for that. But yeah, he's always consistent. He's always knows where I like it, and he continues to do a really good job.
Coach Lashley was talking the other day about going live in scrimmages because he didn't want people to be shocked or unprepared the first time the hits come in games. Obviously, you're not getting hit in practice. How do you know when you're ready for the season to start?
When I'm hitting the ball well, personally, I don't get that physical contact, which is nice, but first week I feel back in the groove, and yeah, if I'm hitting the ball well, I feel ready. I don't want to overcomplicate it. I've said before, if I'm not hitting them well in the warm-ups, I don't freak out. If I don't hit it one day in practice and I haven't hit it that well, I'm not like trying to get in my own head. I try and take each day as it comes, and kind of go a rep at a time. So,
would you like to make a tackle?
My ego would say yes, but no, not for the team's sake.